Morning, everybody. We are back with Super Stigma Slam 2019. I am MrBond. You heard my voice most of the day yesterday, as well as saw myself and EI do Dodonpachi Daifukatsu 3-mode score challenge. But I am back to open up the day with Assault Android Cactus Plus. On host and tech duty is Boris.
Hello.
He will be tracking the challenge for this run, which is I will be donating $1 for every down I take during the run. You may notice that that amount per down is significantly lower than previous runs that I've done for marathons. The reason for that will be made apparent during the run itself. Oops, let's get back into the title scene. So Assault Android Cactus, the base game was released back in 2015 for PC. It got a console release on PS4 and Xbox One not too long after that, and then the expansion, Assault Android Cactus Plus, for which the game is named now, was released standalone for Switch earlier this year and then got a update for PC not too long after that. So we are going to be playing some of the Plus content, Campaign Plus. I'll be playing as Licorice. So since this run is going to be pretty long compared to a normal campaign run, I'll have plenty of time to run my gums here. Although I will probably have to go silent at irregular times, depending on how poorly I'm doing. So I will then leave it to Boris to do further commentary.
Yeah, it's a bit intense.
At that point. It is. Just for point of reference, most of my campaign runs in normal campaign run sub 50 minutes for all but one of the characters. In Campaign Plus, I've yet to hit sub-hour. And I'm not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it is easily an extra 15 to 20 minutes over a normal campaign run. So if we are ready on the timer.
Yep, let me know when. Here we go.
This is going to be really good. All right, let's get this going in 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go. All right. Now the game tries to pull a fast one on you right there. It starts the first level off pretty soft like it would in normal campaign, but then you just get dumped on immediately. So this is Assault Android Cactus. The lore, you gotta respect the lore. A deep space freighter has suddenly gone off the grid, and there's one down already. And you are charged with finding out why. Turns out the robots have gone berserk, the humans are missing, so you are to retake the ship and find out what's going on. I would highly recommend everybody to play this game casually through at least once or twice, and try to make it through with all the characters, because the lore is actually imparted in one opening cutscene, one ending cutscene, and all the dialogue with the bosses, which is unique per character. And so, it's also unique in the normal campaign, and then there's another set for Campaign Plus.
Yep. And so these, so a lot of these enemies you don't see till much later in the game. So you're seeing a lot of red and blue enemies that would be normally towards the end of the game. It's a lot more intense, like you said. It just throws you right into it right away. And then there's the blue toaster dogs, too.
It certainly does. So there's a whole bunch of different enemy types, and as Boris already correctly identified, most of these are very late-game enemies that we're seeing right now. In normal campaign, the difficulty curve is very generous and very friendly to even just casual play. In Campaign Plus, you are expected to jump at the word go, and so jump we shall. Now, the kind of unique part about the Campaign Plus expansion is that they haven't made any of these enemies any stronger. With the exception of bosses, all these normal trash mob enemies have the exact same amount of health that they do in the normal campaign. There's just a lot more of them. And with the exception of this first level here, the only difference in the levels in Campaign Plus is that they are rotated slightly or entirely flipped, which can cause havoc if you are used to playing this on muscle memory for most of the levels, and suddenly you are not going the direction you expect to be going. So we are about to wrap up level 1 here. Please, thank you. Goodness me. So there are 9 different playable characters. Spoiler alert, I'm using the 9th character, the one that you unlock after getting through the campaign for the first time. That's pretty good. She is Licorice. Every playable character has 2 weapons. Their primary, which I'm firing right now, which is a massive cannon bullet. And the secondary, which you've already seen me use several times, her charge-up slash. And Licorice is kind of unique. I mean, each character is unique in having a different set of weapons. But Licorice is one of the more technical to play, I feel, because her secondary slash has a couple different ways to go about it. You can either charge up to a full slash, like that, or you can do a medium slash and a small slash, or you can chain together 3 small slashes. Now the aiming on her slash can be rather particular sometimes. It will try to get a certain distance away from you and usually on the far side of an enemy. However, sometimes that doesn't quite go the way you want it to, so if you see me take a silly down or two because of that, that's how I'm going to blame it.
So another thing to notice is the kind of bullets that the enemies are firing. So blue bullets will only harm you. If there are red projectiles on the screen, they will hurt both you and the enemy. In this mode, there's a lot more of the blue bullets than there are red bullets, so it's obviously meant to make it a lot harder for you.
Right, and the third color to be aware of is the orange color, which is pretty much exclusively limited to player characters, which will only harm enemies. So when you get 2P, 3P, 4P co-op, you can pretty easily distinguish what's going to harm you and what's coming from your co-op partners. So in terms of how the game is structured, there are 20 normal levels, well, 20 and a half normal levels, 5 bosses and a mini-boss right at the end. And once we get that far, it'll be a little bit spoilery, but you know,
yeah.
Honestly, pick up the gameplay. It's a lot of fun, and the writing is actually rather good as well.
I believe we're up to 2 now.
Oof. Oh boy! All right, well that's a good segue into talking about enemy types. So there's a pretty good handful of different enemy types, and each enemy type has a couple variants. Well, that's pretty clear. Yeah. So we've seen a lot of the really basic walker bots, the green and the white kegs. They fire bullets in different patterns. We'll see a lot of these, what we call toaster dogs, they're really called Fidos. The white ones fire rockets, the blue ones try to grab onto you and drag you around, and then the big red ones fire a whole bunch of rockets. All these types we've already seen, and most of them we wouldn't see until probably Zone 3 or 4 in the normal campaign. We also see a bunch of turrets. The red ones shoot red lasers, which, since the laser is red, it will harm both enemies and me. I'll try to leave those ones alive as much as I can so they can do some work for me. But if things get a little too dicey, then all bets are off. We'll also see, well, we also have already seen the blue laser variant turret, which is much more dangerous to me since the blue laser only hits me. So if we see some of those, I'll probably go and take care of those problems as soon as I can. It's really no benefit to me to leave them alive. We'll see a bunch of flying enemies. The white ones shoot a couple single bullets. The red ones are a lot faster and shoot a burst of 3 bullets. There is no other third variant of the flying enemies. We'll also see a bunch of these ghost-like enemies. I almost said a bad word describing them. Ghost-like enemies, there's a red variant that shoots red lasers. There's also a blue variant that teleports around and shoots spread of blue bullets. I've also seen very briefly a couple of the factory enemies. They shoot fish-shaped bullets that cause 2 damage apiece. The blue ones shoot a spiral. Oh boy. Oof. Yeah, I knew that was bad.
That was a bad location.
The factory enemies shoot a bunch of fish-like bullets. The red ones shoot them directly at you. Big green ones we will be seeing later shoots in an orbital pattern. And the blue ones shoot a ring of blue bullets that thankfully disappear once you destroy the factory itself. There's one right now. And bye.
And you may have noticed that he's been actually switching to his secondary weapon in the middle of when he would normally be hit by something. There is a little bit of invincibility when you're switching between weapons. Was that 2?
That was 2 that I think you need to mark.
Yeah, 2. All right. So we are up to 5.
Excellent. See, this is why I dumped it down to $1 per down rather than my typical $5, because I do need to eat this week. So we are on to level 4. The levels are divided up into 5 zones. Each zone has its own unique aesthetic. Right now we're in the cargo hold, ouch, which has kind of a grimy and rusty aesthetic, and we're in the bowels of the ship, so everything's kind of dirty. 4 levels and 1 boss per zone. They are intended to get harder as we go along, but since this is Campaign Plus and not normal campaign, it's pretty much hard all the way around.
And add in the fact that Licorice, you have to be fairly accurate with her. She has a very strong attack, but it doesn't have much for spread.
Yep.
It's pretty much in one direction.
She has very good single target damage. However, these little tiny enemies, these wasps that we've been seeing boatloads of, are kind of the worst enemy to be facing with Licorice, since her primary weapon isn't particularly fast compared to some of the other characters, despite the fact that it does a lot of damage.
And that's normally where picking up something like the red firepower power-up is going to help immensely with a character like Licorice.
Right, so there are 3 different power-up types. The red power-up that I've been trying to grab as many of as I can gives you 2 little side machine guns to help you out. The yellow power-up, which I just grabbed there, is a speed boost. It allows me to sky around the level a little bit faster, as well as attracting batteries, which we'll talk about later, and the little white weapon power-ups, which we'll also talk about later. And then there's the blue power-up, which I'll grab one right here. It's the shutdown. It freezes all the enemies on the screen, gives you temporary invincibility, refills your health, and also any enemies that are frozen take double damage. So as helpful as that sounds, I'm probably not going to try to grab too many of them, except if I need to panic a little bit, because it does slow things down. And since this is a speed run, we want to go fast.
Gotta go fast.
The probably major exception to that is during bosses, shutdowns are very, very useful. Alright, that was pretty good at the end there.
Yeah. And in levels like this where the enemies are very far away, a lockdown could be disastrous for your time.
Correct. Especially in that final phase once the level is fully opened up. So this is the Zone 1 boss. This is Embryo. Normally I'd say don't blink or you'll miss him. But the Campaign Plus variant of it is a little bit dicier. So we'll focus on this a bit, and I will start flapping my gums a little bit more later.
Yeah. So he's going to try to get in fairly close because you'll see the spread of the bullets are just going to kind of spread out as they go away further from him. And now the spinny attack here.
It's a dangerous move, but I did it anyways.
Yep. You have to really be careful with your timing because you can put yourself in a very bad spot with Licorice. And if you use your secondary attack at the wrong time, it's going to be a very bad time.
Yeah, and all these bosses do have melee attacks, so he's been primarily using projectiles. I've been trying to stay as close as possible, of course, but if I get in close, he will not like that.
Yeah. So he waited till the last second to pick that up to make sure that it was going to be an opportune moment to lock him down. So that was just a strategic point that he used there.
Going good so far. Haven't messed up any of my slashes.
Yeah.
Ooh, almost did that one. I had to cancel out that because I got a little scared. That one is a little better.
Yep. And now things are going to get really dicey.
So I'm going to wait for a shutdown on this phase because I do not want to deal with this.
He throws everything he has at you now.
So you can see my slash there did a boatload of damage, and I took a real bad hit there because I forgot which way he was aiming.
All
right, so Embryo down. See you later, Embryo.
Yep.
Ironically enough, this version of Embryo is not the toughest version in the game. So in another mode of this game, Infinity Drive, there is a version of Embryo you can get if you fulfill certain conditions that is slightly tougher than that one. But now we're on to Zone 2. This is the Hydroponics Bay. Everything's nice and clean, lots of glass, like lots of polished metal. Different aesthetic, different music, but still the same core gameplay. Destroy all the robots and move on.
It's actually changed perspective, correct?
Yes. Every level except for the first one is rotated in some fashion in Campaign Plus. That'll play a pretty large part in Zone 5 once we get there.
Okay, we have a $50 donation from the Wild family. Let's save those animals.
Yes, let's. We're trying to save the humans here. We may as well try to save the animals later. So Boris mentioned a little bit earlier me swapping weapons a whole bunch. And that plays into one of the key mechanics of this game in making the best use of your invincibility as you can. So anytime you see my character, Licorice, glowing white, that means I'm invincible and I can take no damage. And it happens fairly frequently. you are always invincible when you're getting up from a down for about 2 or 3 seconds. You're invincible after picking up a shutdown for about 2 or 3 seconds. You're also very briefly invincible on every weapon swap, and in Licorice's case, she's also invincible when moving towards a slash location and actually performing her slash. She's not invincible while you're charging up the slash, however. So you gotta be careful with that. So anytime you see me kind of charge into a big old group and think I should take it down, chances are I'm swapping into it, or swapping out of it, or just panic swapping in general to try to not take that down. So more enemy types, these big jumping brutes. Titans, there's 3 different variations of those. We have the blue ones here, the Buster Titans. We've already seen some of the white variant, the Bomber Titans, they huck mines at us. And I don't know that we've seen any red ones yet, the Blaster Titans. Those send red shockwaves along the ground, and since it's red damage type, it can hurt both me and enemies.
I believe we did see those in Zone 1.
Did we? Okay,
I believe so.
I'm already kind of autopiloting this since I have to talk a lot.
That's, yeah. I can understand that. Generally, so these red enemies, that in the original mode, that's when you're using your specials a lot. They take a lot more damage to go down. Then when you get, obviously later in the game, there's even more powerful enemies. And these Fidos are very annoying, and you'll see probably more of it later in the game as why, when they start throwing them in with a lot more different kinds of enemies.
Yeah, so the blue Fidos in particular, they're the ones that tether to you and try to drag you around. Really problematic because this is all about movement. Getting in the right place at the right time, and anything that affects your movement is no bueno. Oh, come on, I grabbed that before. I'm a little mad about that one.
Yeah, that was a close one.
That's right. So power-ups are interesting. So what makes this game a very interesting speed game is that there is no randomness whatsoever. None, none, none. And that's kind of a hard thing to understand when you're first going out. I mean, it took me a while to really be like, nah, that can't be right. But it is absolutely 100% deterministic. All the enemy movements are based on the way you move, what you destroy, etc. So it is, you could manipulate everything, and if you were a confident speedrunner, you would do that. But I don't. I just kind of play by the seat of my pants because it's more fun. Oof. Yeah.
There's another one.
So there's a demonstration that you are not invincible when you're charging up a slash. That was pretty good. I'm glad.
Yep,
I'm surprised I got the dude
that was good
down
timing.
south.
That was close. That was close.
All right, this guy needs to go away. I despise those blue lasers. But yeah, everything is deterministic. Even the power-up cycles are deterministic. And the power-ups always show up based on the amount of weapon energy you have caused to drop in the level. Oof, oof.
That's number 9.
Dang. That's all right. I figure if I can stay south of 3 digits, we're doing okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to eat this week then.
So one of the big core mechanics that kind of sets this game apart from most other arena-type shooters is the battery meter in the top middle. In most games, you're assigned a fixed number of lives, and if you lose all of those lives, it's game over. However, in this, as long as there's even a speck of battery left in that meter up top, you can take as many downs as you so choose. And in our case, I hope that's very few.
Now, is this part of the level different than the original one? It looks like there are a lot more columns.
Yes, it is. So in Zone 2, and in some other zones as well, there's this concept of morphing levels. Oh boy, that was a bad place to plant my butt there. So Influx is a very good demonstration of a level that morphs as it goes on. We'll see one later on, Repeater, much as Zone 4 has those types of levels as well. And in the case of Campaign Plus, there was a lot different patterns for how the level was morphing. It was a lot more closed off, especially near the end. So back to the battery meter. A full battery meter gets you about 1 minute. And you'll see me picking up these kind of free-floating batteries that enemies drop as we go. So there's one right there. That's also fixed as to when they drop, based on how many little white weapon energy pellets drop from enemies. So while it might seem like they're kind of just popping out at random, depending on what order I kill enemies in, they all drop a varying number of these white energy. it can just kind of change when they drop. See?
And that was an example of when those Fidos are very inconvenient.
Yep, I was expecting to be able to jump away, but he leashed onto me. That was real bad and slow since I left those in the corners. The corners of a circular room, mind you.
You're watching Super Stigma Slam 2019, a 3-day charity streaming marathon benefiting Take This. Established in 2013, Take This is a non-profit organization dedicated to providing information about mental health issues, education about mental disorders, and mental illness prevention, and reducing the stigma of mental illness.
So when you first start out a level, your primary weapon is rather weak. There are ways to get it back up to a maximum of 3 levels above, and that's what I'm doing by picking up these little white energy pellets. And each weapon level gets slightly better. So Licorice, you start off with a single kind of pea shooter. Fires in a straight line, still powerful, but it's still rather slow. When you get to level 2, you start firing slightly faster. Or when you, actually, excuse me, you start at level 0. When you get to level 1, it starts firing slightly faster. When you get to level 2, you get a second bullet. And when you get to level 3, you get both the fast firing and the second bullet. Your secondary is not affected by your weapon level. That is always kind of full strength. And here we are in the final normal level of Zone 2. This is Process. It has conveyor belts, which affect your movement rather heavily. And anything that affects your movement is terrible.
And they'll turn on and off as they so choose.
Yep. They will turn on and off. They'll change direction. They'll change speeds. Enemies and power-ups can get caught on them.
So, the firepower power-up, all of a sudden it's just like, oh, there it is. It starts up and, oh, I can't get to it.
You wanted that? Nope, sorry. Ooh, I'm going to take a shot down there because I was about to die.
Yeah, you can get her out pretty quickly with her multi-slash attack there. As you said, best you can try to aim it.
Yeah, the aim is very particular. However, you can kind of do some really nifty and neat things with it, like get around corners with a triple slash, like so.
Yep. That was pretty clean getting rid of all those wasps there.
Yeah, they can go away immediately. Then they tend to spread out. It's extra slow.
Oh yeah, and then they put as you saw, they put the lasers on the conveyor belts and they're moving, so that makes for extra fun.
No, we're getting rid of those as soon as we can.
And there's about to be a lot on the screen at once with all the lasers.
Lasers and rockets and bullets. And ouch.
We're at 12.
Many ouch. So playing this game for speed is not really the only way to do it, of course. You can also play for score, which, conveniently enough, the faster you go, the better your score is, because there are time bonuses at the end of each level. So really, if you're looking to score run this, get good at speedrunning it. Okay, that was a good cleanup at the end.
Very good.
Alright, so now on to Zone 2 boss. This is Vespula. I'm going to go dead silent for this.
Yeah, she's going to take a lot of concentration. Partially, as you'll see, she generates a lot of wasps, which, as MrBond alluded to previously, are very difficult to take with Licorice. So, gonna try to keep some distance. Really gonna try to stay out of the middle of that as much as possible, because they'll just swarm you and it will be done. Like so. But to the point, so with Vespula, you have to kill as many of these wasps as possible in order for her to open up and you can actually get attacks on her. And she has a very, very nasty melee attack that definitely downs you in one hit. Then he's going to try to back out of that corner because, once again, getting out of being stuck in a corner with these wasps is not good. It's going to start expanding and contracting the wasps now. And try as much as possible not to get in the middle of it. I personally find this boss to be one of the more it's kind of a difficult boss to go against, especially when you first start playing it. Just because she just comes at you with so much at this point in the game. And definitely want to use the shutdowns here as much as possible, because it just gives you some free shots on her. And now the wasps are going to start coming more aggressively after Licorice here. They're going to expand out in a more straight direction. And they're still going to be it's a bit more aggressive. And they're going to expand out. There they are. They're actively seeking out after you pretty much at this point. And MrBond waited. Ooh, there's another one. MrBond specifically was waiting for the firepower on that one, so he would be able to take down those wasps as quickly as possible. And now she throws everything she has at you, every attack that you face the whole entire time. Whew.
Goodness.
Well, you made it.
Now, the reason I was concentrating so much on that is you might have heard some other noises going on, like brr, brr, brr. That was my battery getting low. Yeah. And if your battery runs out, you fail the level, you restart. And that's a big old time loss that I did not want to take. So now we're in Zone 3. It's the security section. You'll see a lot of blues, a lot of kind of important looking things. And this is Checkpoint. This is a rather unique level in terms of how it's set up. Ouch.
I think we're at 17 now.
In terms of, this is no longer just one giant arena. This is a long, long hallway. And since we're in this middle section already, it will continue going on forever and ever and ever, unless you destroy all the robots. So it doesn't matter how far ahead I get, I still need to destroy the robots. So we're going to go kind of slow and try to manipulate the enemy spawns as best we can to not be too far away from us.
And in the normal mode, when you're not playing the Campaign Plus mode, this is normally where things really start to get serious. Of course, in the Campaign Plus mode, everything's serious pretty much all the time.
Yeah, serious business.
And you'll notice that he just skipped past that the lockdown there, or the shutdown, because you really don't want them to stop moving. You want them to keep coming.
Right. So power-ups, as we alluded to before, are not random. The way they spawn, I'm just going to grab that one. Yeah. The way they spawn is always on a fixed timer. Or not the way they spawn, rather. What they appear as is always on a fixed timer. So there are two different timers involved in this. Power-ups that are off-screen or in the queue change every second. And it always goes from yellow to blue to red and back again. And then back to yellow, and then the cycle starts over. Power-ups that are on-screen change every 5 seconds. So whether or not I pick one up right away, or if I kind of wait for it to change, will really depend on the situation I'm in. Blues in a long hallway level like this, I will probably either skip over entirely or try to wait out to switch to red. But if things get dicey, of course, all bets are off, and I'll grab whatever I need to grab.
Red is probably the one that you're going to want the most as a speedrunner. It just gives you the most extra bang for your buck.
It does in 8 of 9 cases.
Yeah.
For another character, Shiitake, whose weapon is pretty much infinite damage railgun, sometimes an Accelerate is a better choice, so you can get into position and line enemies up more properly.
Yeah. Yeah, with her you have to definitely time and have good positioning and line everybody up, because you only get one shot. How often?
Once every 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, so in a game where you have all of these bullets, projectiles all over the screen, that's a long, long time.
It's a long time to be waiting, and during that time you're vulnerable. They don't stop when you stop.
So a little bit more on the scoring of the game. So there's different ratings you get at the end of the level. MrBond is going to click through these because you don't really wait for those when you're in speedrunning mode. But there's, you know, your typical A, B, C, D, and then there's S and S+. Now S+, you get an S+ from essentially going through the whole entire level. You don't break your chain, which means you kill all the enemies, get your combo completely, and you don't take any downs, which is a prerequisite for not breaking your combo anyway. So sometimes you sometimes you end up getting a casual S+ in these modes, not necessarily Campaign Plus mode, good luck, but where it just sort of happens that you end up getting an S+.
I don't think I've had any casual S+'s in this run.
Has anybody?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
What do you think the genesis of casual S+ was? It's not really called a casual S+, it's just something I like to jokingly call it. It's like, oh, well, I was trying, but not necessarily for the S+.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, that big boy had the number.
And those guys will leap across the screen at you. It's not just right in front of them.
They will, and they also take other enemies in front of them with them. So if I got a mine jumped into my face, it's probably because of that.
Oh, and yeah, the big laser that comes across the track here, you either hide behind one of the crates, or you end up having to switch to your secondary through it.
Or, if you're really professional, you can use the firepower drones to block it. That takes a presence of mind I do not think I have for this run, however. So we're probably not going to try to intentionally do that.
There are a lot of enemies, and maybe it just happened to be there at the right time.
Correct. Yeah, you can also do that. So this is level 2 of Zone 3. This is transit. We are on a train. Oh yeah, we're on a train. We actually do have some train physics. So you'll see as we speed up and go around corners, we'll get pushed to one side of the car or another. Probably already seen some of that. But now we're kind of back to, it's mostly just an arena now.
But yeah, it likes to do those turns exactly when you have mines coming at you too. So it's like it's going to pull all of them right towards you.
So another enemy type that we've seen a lot of are the big cans. They drop either a bunch of wasps, which is a bad pinata stuffing, or a bunch of mines, which is an even worse pinata stuffing. So one unique property of the yellow speed up power-up is that it actually lets you ignore every third damage point. So normally when you hit a mine, it's pretty much, you're done, you're down. Sometimes you can get, depending on where you are in kind of that ignoring damage cycle, which I was obviously not in that, you can survive a mine blast or a laser or pretty much anything else. So this is level 3 in Zone 3. This is Heat. You'll see this big disc rotating in the center with a little narrow spot, and also a big jet of blue flame coming out of one side. So since that is blue flame, it doesn't hurt enemies, but it sure as heck hurts me.
I believe when not in Campaign Plus mode, that's actually red.
It is. It is very useful then.
Yeah. Here it is less than useful.
So not something we want to get hit by. However, something that's relatively easy to swap through. Except when I take a rocket right in my face. So.
Did we see the big mines in the last level? I'm trying to recall that.
In the last level, maybe not, but we have seen it prior. So yeah, there are two different types of mines: the small ones, which are instant death, or big ones, which are slightly larger instant death.
They make a big boom. This level is always one of the ones that's my favorites, I guess. And my favorite. I mean,
sincere favorite or ironic favorite?
Ironic favorite.
Okay, very good. It's about to question a few things if it was sincere.
Yeah, and those little alcoves, I believe the flames will not get you there, but obviously when you pick up one of the shutdowns here, you have that invisibility for a little bit, so that helps.
Right. Yeah, the hitbox on the flames is slightly larger than you would think, so you really need to mash your face into the corner to get away from it. Or catch a very lucky swap out.
And there was the blue Fido again. I think it was actually trying to get you stuck into that flame, but it just happened to get hit by something. You happened to get hit by something else.
So bye-bye heat, we will not miss you. Next up is quite possibly even a worse level, if you can imagine. This is Revolution. So remember that bit about conveyor belts at the end of Zone 2? Well, they come in circle form. And once we get going here, they will start a-moving.
Yep, you can kind of see the concentric circle pattern in the beginning, but here we go. And
so it's tame now, but it'll ramp up quickly. And with the rotating wall bits kind of blocking every movement that I try to make here.
It helps and hurts kind of at the same time, so.
Mostly hurts. Let's be honest. So I'm going to be picking up a lot more accelerates than I normally would on any other level, because I need to get around these things. Preferably without eating bullets. But sometimes you just get hungry.
Yep. Nom nom. Ooh, that was spicy.
That was a party.
And it's also the other lovely thing is that sometimes these, like one enemy will get stuck behind one of these walls.
Yeah, and then you go slow, and you get sad because you got to go fast. So here are the big green factories. They spawn a whole bunch in a circular pattern. And if you end up in the middle of them, you're gonna have a bad time.
Ooh. And there are the big red Fidos that drop a ton of missiles on you.
Thankfully, those explosions on those are slightly smaller, but there's way too many of them, so it doesn't really make much difference.
Ooh, that was close. Managed to sneak your way out of that one.
Now, the Zone 3 music is an absolute jam, and normally I'd be singing along to it,
yep.
but
you need some focus.
I gotta focus on it.
Oh.
Missing that battery is probably not great.
You might be okay, though.
Okay, we're fine now. Yeah. So an interesting part about the battery is it spawned based on how many weapon energy you spawn from destroying enemies. Ouch.
Oh,
wow, you're alive.
You got no scope there.
However, if there is a battery already on the field, that gets cut in half. So you're really encouraged to pick up batteries as quickly as you can. In normal play on campaign levels, it's really not that big of an issue. They're pretty generous with the battery drops. You can get through a level without much problem. On Campaign Plus, it's a bit more important that I pick these up.
Yep. Because things can just go wrong.
They can go very wrong very fast. So hello to Zone 3 boss. This is Justice. Normally he'd be kind of a pushover like Embryo, but Campaign Plus, you best be moving. You don't want to catch a laser in the face.
Oh,
or a security shield. Yep. He doesn't like you getting close.
Yep. Sets up his little defense perimeter, which normally will drop some sort of a power-up. Waiting probably for the... Yep, there we go.
Yep. Well, and then I catch a
got
laser.
Sniped.
Yeah, see, right there. Okay, I'm going to grab that because I don't like these capture balls.
Yeah, so similar to the blue Fidos, those will just try to hold you in place or drag you closer. Ooh, Helios.
Where they have radar. Oh, that's going to be bad.
Oh,
yeah.
Right in the middle of the shield.
Right.
So you might recognize, so for those of you who have played the game, you might recognize those Helios. Oh man.
Wow.
It's all right, you got this.
Yeah, you get a fraction of a second before that laser goes off.
Yeah. Ouch you.
All right, let's just
yeah. Still doing good on the battery though. So now he'll kind of create this laser path and it'll follow you around everywhere.
Ooh,
and
well, I'm gonna back off of that one.
Yep.
Kaboom.
There's the big laser coming out and shut down the 4.
That was
we're at 28 downs now.
My uglier Justice fights. 5 downs on that alone. Yikes. So now we're on to Zone 4. We are, I think technically we're outside the ship at this point. You can kind of see the various containers and other superstructure in the background. Oof. So Zone 4 introduces a lot more of the morphing levels. You can see these panels kind of dropping in and out. What I typically like to do is hang out in the center and keep that wide open panel in place. I didn't do that this time.
Ouch.
So we are just going to hang out over here where everything's nice and wide and we've got a clear shot.
So was that intentional to let the middle panel drop this time?
No, it was not.
I kind of figured.
It was not at all.
Yeah. So it just gives you a better area to move around and less obstruction.
Oh
Ouch.
my goodness.
Less for enemies to hide behind.
Rocket there? Must have been.
Yeah. So a couple of the red Fidos here, and they're just going to dump on you there. All right.
Normally I've got my splits open for this, and the split name for this is Hold the Center. So I remember to indeed hold the center.
Looks like the center's come back for you. Oh, you got a few open
very
panels.
good.
So that's good.
So these panels will not swap out if there are ground-based enemies on them or batteries. They sure will drop out if there's only a power-up though, because by gum, it doesn't want you to have power-ups.
And there's the one enemy just hiding back behind that pillar there.
A red jet.
Yep. Keeping you from going fast.
Ooh, got right there. That's another example of the aim being very particular. I wanted to land behind both of them. It landed me a little bit too close.
And then the blue Fido got a hold of you too.
So I took a stomp instead of slashing both of them. And now my good center is gone again.
Yep.
Oh, it is gone for good, huh?
Ooh, now
well, that's interesting.
That's gonna keep you. That's gonna turn. Oh boy.
I would say I've never seen that before, but I have seen that before. It's just exceedingly rare.
Yep. Trying to give you as little space to move around now as possible.
Of course, spawning a turret as far away from me as it can.
Oh, that was a good one. And there's another open one.
All right, so I guess we're hanging out over here for a while.
Gotta get rid of that guy. Yep.
Why did you put one over here? Stop.
Well, at least it's on an open platform.
Yeah, I mean, small mercies.
Yep. And oh, there he is. Oh,
of course. Just trying to
duck it out behind that pillar.
Last couple bullets over to him. That's all right. Well, rip assembly.
Yep. He will not be mistaken.
Next on to Relay. This is the second and final corridor-based level. Same kind of thing with checkpoint we saw at the very beginning of Zone 3. It will go on and on and on forever until you kill all the robots in that particular wave.
And then as you see, the platforms drop off behind you, so there's no going back.
Yep.
But the thing is, if you don't kill one of them, if you don't get one of them, that
you gotta go back
stays.
Anyways, right?
Yep.
So it's real good about not cutting you off from very critical things like batteries, enemies you have to kill, etc. But anything that's optional, like a power-up, well, that's not going to stop it from going. Probably should have held that a bit more to get the mine can. That's all right. Yeah.
It gives you another opportunity to switch out in a bad situation.
So you'll see after I use my secondary, a little ring form around me. That tells me how much charge time I need to wait for it to be ready again. You can use a partial of it. So as long as you have about a third of the ring below you open, you can swap back and use your secondary again. But if you use it at the entire time, then you gotta wait a little bit longer.
So in some of these areas, Bond's going to just keep trying to keep them in an area and not let them behind him, because that's just going to slow you down.
Especially these wasps here.
Yep.
Spread out so much.
And there was an off-screen mine can. There it is. Oops, gone. Oh, there it is. So do the mines from the mine can count as enemies?
Yes, the mines from the mine can are actually slightly darker than the ones that guy was trying to push at us. The white mines, see there, you saw it very briefly there. The white mines from the Bomber Titans do not count towards the enemy count, and they do not count towards your score. Despite still being just as deadly.
Yep. All right, so now you're going to be in a tight area there's going to be many blue Fidos trying to get a hold of you.
It's very poor timing on the rest of that slash there.
However, with Licorice, you might be able to get in a decent slash, like so.
So there's a bunch of very small time-saving things I'm trying to do. Normally when you use a full bit of your secondary, it takes a moment for Licorice to hop back into primary. You can actually cut that short by hitting the secondary swap button again. However, if you do it too soon, you'll just cancel out of your slash entirely and waste even more time. And that's true for every other character. You can cancel their secondary early.
Ooh.
So on to Focus. This level morphs in a slightly different way. You'll see some platforms below us. We're going to be headed there very shortly.
And you'll get to see the fun that's going to be those platforms.
Yep, and now we're down on platform 2. And hey, look at that. There's another platform below us. I wonder if we'll be going there. Spoilers. Yes, we will.
So then we have all the wasps and the mine cans coming after him. And a blue laser, because it can't be helpful.
Absolutely not. No help allowed. You are expected to carry your own. This is Campaign Plus, after all.
Ooh, close one. Managed to sneak out of that. You're watching Super Stigma Slam 2019, a 3-day charity streaming marathon benefiting Take This. Established in 2013, Take This is a non-profit organization dedicated to providing information about mental health issues, education about mental disorders and mental illness prevention, and reducing the stigma of mental illness.
So we've dropped down to the next platform. And wouldn't you know it, there's one more below us, I think. Yep.
Oh, look at that lovely blue flame right in the middle.
Lost track of which platform I was on.
It's not like there's a lot going on the screen.
Nah, not too much to pay attention to. Just dance with the flame a little bit since we had the shutdown. No real use to doing that, just looks nice.
Yep. Ooh, that was
a little spicy. Yep.
Ooh.
I wasn't going to have enough time to get out of that.
No. And if you entirely use up all of your secondary weapon, it's going to have to recharge before you can use it again. And then you end up in situations like that. Yeah.
So here we are on the bottom platform. Nothing left below us to catch us. So this will be the final one. That to be a shutdown. We're not going to get to that one in time.
Alright.
Ah, of course.
That one wasp.
Fantastic.
And the 2 Fidos are all that's left. So I think coming up is actually one of my favorite bosses. I say, once again. Not yet. We had. Oh, never mind. This is a fun level,
final level of Zone 4. This is Repeater. Probably the most irritating of the transforming levels. Because as you can see, it breaks itself down and rebuilds itself around you as you move in any given direction.
And difference between, I think, this one and standard campaign mode is there's actually walls in this one. I don't think there are walls in the
Yeah, that's
standard mode.
That's likely true. They do pop up pillars from time to time, but it's definitely a lot more now. And a lot more mine cannons.
And of course they get rid of the walls once they have the mine cans coming in, because you need the most direct path possible.
So the interesting part about this level is that it can go on infinitely in any direction. However, it will always leave a path towards a battery or a ground-bound enemy. So if you try to go fast enough, you might just run out of ground.
But there are a finite number of tiles that it will actually generate at one time, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so you can get a real bad, real long, narrow path and no way to escape it until you go back and say, get the battery that's way back there.
Ooh, a lot of wasps coming onto the screen right now.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Can delete there.
That was a good one there. Getting the far enemy so you can get more tiles out.
Okay, I was going for the accelerate there, but the shutdown's probably more useful. Jeez, that mine had somewhere to be. So we always kind of joke about one mine in every can is the hero mine, because it just seems to accelerate way too much. Fudge.
Yeah, it's just gunning for you.
Like its last day on the force, it wants to go out with a big bang and do some good work. So it just tries really hard.
A lot of mine cans there. Here we go.
Get rid of all those.
Ooh.
Dang, couldn't even get the last two.
Well, nope, that wall just came up out of nowhere, though.
Gonna sacrifice myself to get those out of there, but no such luck. So on to boss number 4. This is Venom. Widely reviled for good reason.
Yeah. I can't use my favorite character against him in this mode.
That is hard to judge sometimes. It's a very narrow space to get through. We managed it.
Is it every other one of these will drop a pop? You actually need to focus on this one. Let's let you focus. So these turrets that are popped up by Venom, there'll be more of them later. That was good timing on that shutdown. Really needed that.
So drill phase 1 is, you know, problematic, but not terrible.
Nope. So these purple shots, they will down you in one hit.
Yes, thick and beefy, and not something that you want to get hit by. So turret phase 2, there's more of them.
Yep. And the more turrets that you get rid of, the more that the other turrets actually spit out. So they'll start spitting out a lot more in a lot more directions. So it gets pretty dicey very quick. And now the best phase here.
It's terrible. Woo! Good triple,
nice.
Though. All right. I would like that that firepower. Thank you. So butt phase. You've been cutting off Venom's limbs up to this point, and now you got to cut off his butt. So rip butt phase.
And now he's not happy.
Do I have one more? I do. Excellent.
There it is.
Good timing. And now all he's left is a torso, and even that's gone. So see you later, Venom. You will not be missed. Is that one down? All right, one down's not bad for Venom. I'll take that. So on to Zone 5, we are at the bridge of the ship now. Everything's all very important looking, very official. Of course, I'm going to drop chain there because big dude McCool there was guarding it.
So it's going to open up a bunch of these doors and just let enemies out. You see everything's kind of spinning around on the outside. And it's going to just throw everything it can at you and try to make you have as bad of a day as possible.
Yeah. Despite that, this is one of the most fun levels in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's just everything's all chaotic, but there's so many enemies, power-ups are dropping everywhere. Like, just keep your wits about you and you're okay. That was sick.
Yes. I think it's
sick move.
It's especially fun when you're playing with more people.
Yeah.
It just gets crazy.
So, like Campaign Plus in so much is that it doesn't increase the health of the enemies, just the amount of them. That was kind of silly. When you play co-op, it also does the same thing. It doesn't increase the health of the enemies, except for the bosses. It just vastly increases the number of enemies. So this level in 4-player co-op is absolute hilarity, really.
Especially when you have people like me or some of our other friends where it's just like, well, we're okay, we're just not that great, and we're just getting in the way.
Yes, then it turns into quote-unquote co-op. That's good clear. So there is a small risk of a soft lock on this level. One that I haven't seen in Campaign Plus. You can actually trap, with a poorly timed shutdown, you can trap enemies kind of in their spawn points in the outer ring, and then you can't get to them. So then you have to restart the level. I haven't seen it in Campaign Plus, and my thought on that is that there's just so many more enemies that they tend to bump each other out even when you hit the shutdown. So I'm glad for that at the very least. They might have also fixed that in a patch to a normal campaign too.
And as you can see by all the enemies on the screen right now, all the lasers and all the mines, it's just chaos. But MrBond doing a pretty good job keeping things pretty much to the center and to an edge. So just kind of a decent strategy, and this one is just kind of keep going around in a circle to keep everything contained and take out what you can.
And lots of shutdowns also work. That one down kind of sucked, but we'll get through it. Yeah. So here's Control. The level rotation in Campaign Plus really plays havoc with you on here, because normally this one down in the lower left would be a nice machine gun turret, which is by and large the best one you can possibly get. However, it is now a plasma field shield, which does repel bullets, which is nice, but it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of damage, and it really just doesn't do enough for me to kind of hang out around here. So we're going to go over here to the machine gun turret. Much better. Fire and forget. Go activate it. It'll spend its bit, and then it'll recharge. And I'm going to try to coax these power-ups out of this area, because I do not want them over here. Ah, oh, dang, I tried to get greedy. It's going to swap into the accelerate and bust a move on out, but it didn't work.
Yep. It wasn't just a hero mine, it was all of them.
Yeah, they all did their duty that day. So there's also a third turret up in the top there, which is a missile turret, which if I get scared of this area, we might go visit, but generally you just try to hang around machine gun turret.
It's the least amount of work to make sure it's helping you out.
And it does a lot of work for you. What I will do is just trigger that once, and then pew, 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 and then wait for lasers to hit me because I'm a smart boy.
And here they're setting up again. That time, no thank you.
Should be ready to go again.
Yep. All right, the Mine Titans, Shockwave Titans, there we go.
Ooh, for that to be a shutdown. Good thing I didn't really need it.
Yep. Well, with those red Titans, they'll actually, so when they use their Shockwave, it kind of tries to follow you. It doesn't just go in a straight path.
Yeah, it's a very gentle arc, so you can get caught unawares, but it's pretty easy to escape.
Yeah.
Force me over here now. Kind of watching the enemy indicators around the outside of the screen and trying to get them without having to walk back there.
Yep.
Wasn't a great control of the whole deal, I suppose. So on to my most favoritist of levels. This is Convection. So we are in a giant oven. And since these are all red flames, they can help me out, but they're not gonna. So we are just gonna stay on our toes and keep moving around so we don't get too toasty.
And having to be fairly accurate with Licorice can make this a lot more difficult. Whereas there's some enemies that do more of a, or some characters that do more of a spread damage. So it's maybe a little bit easier to maneuver around this. And now I think is the part where you have the red following you around.
Yep.
Super fun in campaign mode, or when you're playing multiplayer, because it's going to follow you, and then it follows everybody. So don't cross paths, otherwise someone's going to get roasted.
Yeah, and in Campaign Plus, it starts following you super early during the level. Yeah. In normal campaign, it waits till like the back third. Yeah. Now it's going to be with us for a goodly amount of time.
So essentially it's just saying, hey, you don't want to come back this way, otherwise I'll hurt you.
That's actually really helpful for all these wasps, since they go down pretty quickly. But again, if I step back even a single step here, I'm going to roast myself. So I'm going to keep moving. I'm also going to try to pick up an accelerate at some point. Maybe wait that one out.
Very good timing for a shutdown there.
Ooh, bad time to lose the accelerate.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oof.
A little toasty.
Yeah. Toasty, spicy. It's all applicable for this level.
So power-ups with the exception of shutdown, you can stack up to 2. They last, I want to say, about 20 seconds each. So if you see me suddenly stop going as fast as I should, that's because the accelerate wore off.
I don't remember if we mentioned this before, but if you look at the power-ups, there's a little bar on the bottom of them that kind of tells you when it's going to switch from one to the other. So you'll also see the color kind of gray a bit and then switch over to the other color of the next power-up that it would switch to. So
that was dicey.
You can kind of gauge that a bit for when you want to pick up a power-up. So if you want to try to extend how long you're going to have a power-up for, sometimes you wait till the last second to pick it up. Less likely to do that in this mode because, once again, chaos.
Right. Yeah, they do a lot of very good visual cues as to what's going on. Okay, that was a pretty solid convection. I'm going to say that was downless, but we did break chain. So no casual S+ for us. Okay, so this is the final regular level, or the final half regular level. Hey, look, it's Licorice. But wait, we're Licorice. So there are some very funny conversations that can happen between Licorice and Licorice. I would definitely recommend picking up the game and listening to them, because they are funny. But there's no like real lore reason for Licorice fighting Licorice. There's not 2 Licorices out there. But it's just a funny little, well, we wanted you to be able to still play this level and fight Licorice. So here's a joke conversation or something like that.
She is a very fun character to play as, though.
She is quite fun. As difficult as she is, and as difficult as the aim on her slash can be sometimes, she is probably my second favorite to play as. So I mentioned this was the final half regular level. In the second half, we'll be fighting the mini-boss. And we already got a hint as to who that mini-boss was going to be at the beginning of the level.
So
it's Licorice.
So yeah, normally in the not Campaign Plus mode, this would be the first and only time you see those blue lasers. So
correct.
Just for reference, we've seen those blue lasers since the beginning of Campaign Plus mode.
Yep, and if you're in 1P mode on normal campaign, it is a single blue laser. 1 blue laser turret in the entirety of the game. But here, I don't know, I haven't been counting.
Nope, no point. We didn't get as many as you probably hoped for in that one.
I wanted to get the blue one out of there too, but that's alright. So, here's the mini-boss. Oh my goodness, it's Licorice. Now, since she is an android, like us, she operates on the very same principles. And the point of this mode, this part of the level, is not to destroy all the robots, but just to drain Licorice's battery. Her meter is in the bottom center.
You'll notice her red projectiles coming out of her gun. When she gets a chance to shoot, Bond doing a very good job keeping her contained for now. So her point is she's trying to destroy as many of those robots as possible to essentially outlast you.
And Licorice versus Licorice is actually one of the easier matchups you can get because you can very easily counter slash and sneak a battery from her. Ooh, she got a good shot there.
Yep.
But thankfully, we ran away like the big cowards we are.
You truly get to see the power of her. You truly get to see the power of her projectile when you're going against her, because she takes you down in like what, two shots?
Yeah. So at that point, I just stopped focusing on enemies and just try to keep her down. And I think that was a 0 battery Licorice fight, so we are good to go on that front. There's also a 0 down collider in general, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was really good.
So on the Medulla, this is the final boss, and it includes kind of a mini boss rush with it. Every odd phase is this kind of weird rotating bullet phase with the big thing in the center, and every even phase will be a boss refight, or a boss refight of the boss's final phase.
And they're gonna keep. She's gonna keep pulling in these those blue projectiles, and she's gonna Bond's gonna have to keep kind of backing out using the secondary switch.
So here's the Embryo refight. I would have preferred a firepower there, but that's all right. Shutdown is nice and safe.
But essentially, you'll notice this is Embryo's last phase, so it's every boss's last phase that you
dangerous full slash that I went for.
And now we have red and blue, and look, they go in opposite directions.
Fantastic. Really not too threatening, honestly, until they start doing that.
Then they start
and then you go
dipping in.
Perfect. So here's a Vespi refight. I'm gonna hope for a shutdown. Now I'm gonna wait this out for a firepower because that was kind of trashy.
There we go.
Ooh, that targeted a wasp and not Vespi herself.
Unfortunate.
That was not great, but we'll go with it.
And now we're gonna have all of the purple projectiles coming out, which, as you recall from the Venom fight, those are one-hit wonders, and they'll take you out quick.
That was a dance. A dance I do not want to have to repeat. So here's the Justice refight. I'm going to go in for that shutdown. Pop a couple of those so we can get another power-up eventually. All right, that was good. Excellent Justice. So here comes the laser. Ooh. Dang it. I tried to dance through it. Did not work. That's unfortunate, but that's all right.
Yeah, so for this level, a bunch of things are going to pop up through the ground and come after you.
Yeah, we got to do some crowd control here, otherwise things get out of hand.
Yes. And that laser's just going to keep coming after you.
I'm going to grab the shutdown. Nice, good firepower drop there.
Yep.
We're just going to hope that we can finish this off. There we go. So there goes Medulla. Run over.
Okay, so stop time.
Oh wait, there's another phase, because of course there is. Welcome to Geometry Wars, I mean Ether Sphere. So this plays into the lore of the game as to what is actually going on here. That was very dangerous. But the idea is, the general idea is that the core of the ship that you're trying to figure out what went wrong has just gone totally off the rails. And it's your job to pretty much put it down. Just don't think, just shoot everything, and you can sort it out later.
So interesting thing about this one, it automatically puts you up to the top level of your weapon. If you take it down, it takes just maybe a second or two, and it pops you back up to level 3. But there are no batteries in this one. You only have your current battery meter, and if you run out of time or you run out of battery, you're just done.
Yep, you get the full minute at the start, and you need to make use of it. So there we go. Time is coming up as soon as I hit complete. Time.
106.56.
Okay, still under estimate, which is good. My best with Licorice is a low 101, considering I had to do a lot of jawing there. Yes, thank you, Aubergine. Considering I had to do a lot of jawing during this, that's not super terrible.
Yep, that was pretty good.
I can be pleased with that. So that's Assault Android Cactus Plus. Please go pick it up. It's a fantastic game. It's a good speed game. It's a good casual game. The normal campaign obviously doesn't expect nearly as much out of you as Campaign Plus, but it's really well tuned, really well balanced, and I think even if you're not a a general fan of arena shooters in general, I think you can probably get a lot of joy out of it. So that will do it for me right now. I have the final run of this evening as well, but for now I think we're going to cut over to Super Metroid 100% that Boris will be playing.
Yep. And so do you want to know the final damage?
Sure. Yeah.
42 downs.
Pretty good. Pretty good for a Campaign Plus run in a marathon setting. I will very happily donate that $42 very shortly.
All right, so as MrBond stated, we will have Super Metroid 100% run coming up next. Just give us some time to do that setup. Thank you.